กลับเข้าสู่ Startup Thailand and Innovation Thailand Expo 2020 ในเวทีฟอรัมกับฮันนี่ชลพรรษานเวล่านะคะและในช่วงนี้เรามากับอีกหนึ่งหัวข้อที่น่าสนใจภายใต้ธีม Tourism Rebound นะคะเราจะมาดูนวัตกรรมที่ส่งเสริมในธุรกิจและอุตสาหกรรมการท่องเที่ยวนะคะโดยบริษัท ShareRing ค่ะเป็นอีกหนึ่งแพลตฟอร์มที่น่าสนใจสำหรับอุตสาหกรรมการท่องเที่ยวเลยนะคะเพราะว่าเขาได้มีการพัฒนาระบบนิเวศซึ่งก็จะเหมาะสำหรับสังคมเศรษฐกิจแบ่งปันจะทำให้การเดินทางการพักผ่อนสะดวกขึ้นอย่างไรกันนั้นไปดูในหัวข้อต่อไปเลยนะคะก็คือ ShareRing and Thailand Tourism ซึ่งผู้ที่จะมาให้ข้อมูลในส่วนนี้ท่านเป็น Co-founder และ Chairman ของบริษัท ShareRing นั่นเองค่ะ And now I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker who is Mr. Tim Boss, co-founder and chairman of ShareRing, joining us through Zoom. Good afternoon, Mr. Boss. How are you?
Hi, great, thanks. It's great to be here, virtually be here.
Thank you for joining us. And now the screen time is yours. Take it away.
Thanks very much. Great. Hi, everyone. My name's Tim Boss, and I'm the CEO of ShareRing. So today what I'm going to be talking about is how we can potentially look at opening the borders again post-COVID-19 or even as we start to find our way out of COVID-19. So first of all, obviously, since the borders shut down in March with the COVID-19, we need to start rethinking how we approach tourism. So I don't think that we're just going to suddenly open the borders again and flights are going to start arriving. This needs to be a gradual thing. We need to be able to build trust with societies, trust with travellers, and trust with the tourism providers. There's been obviously constant, almost daily articles about when are we going to open the borders? How can we open the borders? Are we going to create travel bubbles and so on? So some of the challenges obviously during COVID-19 is how do we help tourism operators stay in business? How do we help them open up again? How do we give them the safety and protection that they need to make sure that they're not exposed to COVID-19? But also things like for travellers that are travelling into countries and being asked to install COVID tracking apps, how do we provide security and safety for them, but also make sure that their data isn't used in ways that obviously we don't want them to use it, like leaking of email addresses and identity and things like that. And then also, how do we make sure that we increase the adoption of not just COVID tracking apps, but apps or technology that will help us open those borders again? So first of all, let's have a look at what they're doing in other parts of the world to try to open the borders. I think we've seen a lot of progress in Europe, for example, in the basically creation of travel bubbles. So some travel bubbles that exist are between Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And the way that they work is they have a lot of alignment between the governments and the approach to how they're treating things like lockdowns and how they're treating things like COVID tracking and all of that. So if you create a travel bubble, you need a few things. One is alignment between the governments and how they're going to suppress or how they're looking at sort of suppressing COVID-19. Low numbers, so the governments need to trust each other and their process to make sure that the numbers of people with COVID are actually kept very low, and so on. So it's a difficult thing to do, and it's a very difficult thing to achieve. And we're seeing travel bubbles pop up and then disappear just as quickly every week. And you know, there's obviously a fear at the moment that a second wave of the virus is happening in Europe. So some of these travel bubbles are starting to disappear. Other things that we see is extended quarantine. So this is particularly being used a lot for either business travellers that must go to countries to conduct business or people that are being repatriated back to their home countries. So, for example, where I am now in Australia, any people that are being repatriated back into Australia need to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks as a quarantine period. And then also for business travellers that are travelling overseas, say to Japan from Australia, if they get permission to leave the country, then they also need to stay for 2 weeks in quarantine. It doesn't really help travellers very much because often travel and tourism is only for 2 weeks. So people aren't going to travel and stay for 2 weeks in quarantine. So what's Thailand doing? So the latest thing that we've seen happening is the travel hub of Phuket, and it's focused really towards long stay vacations. So making sure people are put into quarantine for minimum of 2 weeks, as like what a lot of other countries are doing. And then after that, they can take their vacation. So very, very focused on people that are staying for, 1 month or more for extended sort of vacations in those countries. There's also been discussions around creating travel bubbles with other countries. So that was considered, a lot of options put up, but it seems at the moment, for all intents and purposes, that's been postponed, and those discussions are postponed while I guess other countries try to get a hold of the situation. The other area which is finding a small amount of success is really to focus more on domestic tourism and promote domestic tourism to Thai citizens. So that requires the adjustment of things like the pricing model, that requires the adjustment of the target and the marketing for the tourism operators. But I think it's a great thing to sort of help try to sort of kickstart the tourism industry a little bit, to basically focus a lot more on the domestic tourism. And then hand in hand with that is domestic contact tracing. So the app called Thaichana is being used for people that are going into shopping centres, banks, and some other areas to basically scan the QR code, enter their details, and submit those details so that there's an element of contact tracing in the domestic environment. So our view is obviously tourism needs to be reimagined. And what I'll do now is talk a little bit about what ShareRing is doing, and then how we are addressing this with some of the technology that we've developed. So we started ShareRing in end of 2017 and started developing our products in 2018. So some of the technology that we've developed are around ShareRing ID, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail shortly. ShareRing Pay, which is our payment system that facilitates cross-border payments, instant payments to providers, merchants, hotels, and people, and also zero or very, very low foreign exchange fees. So that means I can travel from, say, Australia, use my app to pay for things like my hotels, experiences, activities, and other things in Australian dollars. And then the merchant or the hotel would receive Thai baht, but without a crazy large spread in the foreign exchange rate. So we have a number of bits of technology that allows us to do it with lower rates than anyone else in the industry. We develop a lot of our system on top of blockchain technology for a number of reasons. And then we're also working on a reward system. So part of our reward system is really around getting people to use other parts of our ecosystem more, but also will allow things like converting our reward points to other, say, well-known hotel reward points or car or flight reward points, so that can be used across other systems. So in terms of the actual products, I mentioned ShareRing ID. So we do support hotel bookings on our site and on our web app. One of the unique features by using ShareRing ID is to allow people to do express check-in to hotels. So once you book the hotel, you can turn up to the hotel. The hotel will already have your passport photo. They've got that registered. And all you need to do is collect the card and go straight up to your room. Similar with flight bookings, we'll allow for express check-in or pre-check-in and pre-checks on the flights. We offer experiences and tours through one of our partners, car sharing, the COVID-19 pass, which I'll discuss. Other products are like our electronic visa on arrival technology, and then a number of other things. So we're also launching in Bangkok very shortly a local business e-commerce site, which allows you to use our website or our apps to shop locally and have same-day delivery from any shops around you that are part of the plan. So we're launching that in the ASOC area with one of our partners very, very soon. In terms of ShareRing ID, one of our main products that underpins all of our technology, one of the things about ShareRing ID is it's what's called a self-sovereign identity platform. So what that basically means is when you sign up for ShareRing ID, your identity, your passport information, driver's license, and other information that's stored in the ID is not stored on a central server or a cloud server or anything like that. It actually stays on your phone. So you register for ShareRing ID and you own and you completely control your ID and you control who has access to it. So as a company ShareRing, we don't have a photo of your passport. We don't have your address or anything like that. And the process to sign up for it is really quite simple. So you open the app, you take a photo of your passport. We have AI that does checks to make sure that it's valid and does optical character recognition to get the data off the passport. You also do what's called a liveness detection. So you hold the phone to your face and you move. So we say nod and shake your head or say something, and that confirms that you're a real person. We also match the photo of what you've just done then to the passport, and we encrypt that information, and we take a digital fingerprint of that information, and we store the digital fingerprint on the blockchain. What that means is you still control all of the information, but you can't change it. So we've verified that passport, we've verified that it's you, that if you try to change any of that information, then it's not valid anymore. So it makes for a super simple solution for travelers. So you can then use that ID to very quickly book hotels, book experiences, book flights. We're also talking to banks, so you can use it to quickly sign up for banking, and a number of other solutions that make it really easy to sign up for things that require ID. For example, if you go to a car rental place, instead of waiting in queue and showing your ID and having it scanned, you could simply sign up, scan a QR code, your identity will go straight to the car rental place, and then you'll be able to take the car away with you. So it's turning something that's normally a 10-minute experience into something that's maybe 2 or 3 minutes maximum. So there's a lot of different uses across it. The process takes only 2 minutes. The security around liveness detection, it's fraud proof. In places like Europe, where they have something called GDPR, which is about the protection of data, and Thailand has something similar, it actually helps protect that data as well. So it means that if we were hacked, for example, that nobody could go in and collect any of that information or any of that data. And we often see reports of company XYZ being hacked and all of the people's data is being leaked. So one of the reasons behind this technology is to avoid that. So we also, one of the examples of using ShareRing ID is for our visa on arrival product. So we're talking to a number of countries in terms of adopting this. And the beauty of this is, at the moment, electronic visas, the process is you apply through a website or through the airline that you're going through, you send all of your details, and then you've got people in the back office that actually go through and manually check it. They check the passport, they make sure it's valid, they look at hotel bookings and the flight bookings, make sure it's all valid, and then approve it. And that takes time and costs a lot of money to do. Our solution allows you to simply sign up for ShareRing ID, take a photo of your flight booking receipt, take a photo of your hotel booking receipt. We have a system that gathers all of that data and verifies that data, and then creates the visa on arrival application, sends it through securely. And because it's all been pre-checked, the approval process is a lot faster. The authenticity on it is a lot more guaranteed. And then also the approval process seems to be a lot faster. So you could effectively get approval within hours instead of days on that whole process. So I'd like to talk about one of the solutions that we're looking at to bring a lot of the technology together, such as our identity and everything, to create something that we're calling the open world tourist experience. So I guess a lot of other people have been calling this a COVID-19 passport. And the idea is that you would basically be able to allow people to travel by providing proof that they don't have COVID-19, and then also providing them security in the countries that they enter. So the opportunity that we saw with this is by taking some of our existing assets and technology, which is our core product, the ShareRing ID, some of the electronic visa on arrival and e-visa technology, our hotel booking technology, our flight booking technology, our liveness detection and all of that, and then our other tourism partnerships, and then adding a module to it, which is basically our COVID tracing system, and then also some of our travel insurance partnerships that we already have. And then use those to help businesses and travel businesses open up and help countries open their borders again. So the process is quite simple. So this is really a high-level workflow on how that might work. So basically, the idea behind it is, before the tourist travels, what they would need to do is effectively go and get a test. So if this is before a vaccine is out, they would need to effectively do a test, and the results of that test would be either scanned by the system, or we would work with authorised testing centres to verify that and put it into the system that they've had a negative test. That test would always need to be done maybe 2 or 3 minutes before, 2 or 3 days before you're actually planning on travelling, because there's no point getting the test 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before or anything like that. So you would basically do that test 2 or 3 days before. You would get approval to say, yes, that test is clear. And then you would go through a similar process to what I mentioned before, which is back here, which is the electronic visa on arrival process. So what you would effectively do is you would scan that negative test, you would scan your hotel booking, you would scan your flight receipt. Our system would basically do the OCR, optical character recognition, on that information. It would process that information through and give you clearance to travel. And that clearance to travel would be shown to the airline when you go to the airport. It would be shown to customs when you enter into Thailand, for example, through the borders there. But I guess the experience doesn't stop there, because one of the things is we also need to make sure that the travellers feel safe, and also the people in the tourist destinations and things like that feel safe when the travellers are going around. I remember there was an article in the paper a few weeks ago in Thailand. There was a bit of concern where there was some people that visited the country that it turned out that they had COVID-19, and the contact tracing for where they had been, and the process was quite a headache to go through. So one of the things that we're looking at is how do we approach that too when the people are on the ground, and get some better contact tracing in place. So we looked at sort of maybe the Thai China type of experience, but something that really follows the traveller from when they leave home to when they arrive in Thailand, and then when they're doing their shopping and things like that. So basically the concept behind it is you would scan the QR code at entrance to a shop or a shopping centre, and you don't need to re-enter any information at all, because you've got your ShareRing ID. So that would automatically send only the relevant information that's required for contact tracing to a database. And then your screen would show either amber, or it would show green, or maybe in some cases red. So basically green means everything is good. You can enter, go into that shop and do shopping. Amber means that our system has detected that you've previously been in a location where someone else who has COVID has been to. So it would basically flash amber and say, you can't enter this location. We suggest that you isolate, and if you have any symptoms, then go to your nearest test centre and get tested. And it's quite a simple and elegant process, and very simple to roll out, and very low cost, because there's no requirement to put infrastructure in any shops or any locations or things like that. So as a follow-on for this, we've been in discussions with some restaurants overseas and a number of other places where effectively we could offer additional services off the back of that. So for example, you go to a restaurant and you scan the QR code and it says green to go in. So instead of just going in and sitting down and the waiter coming and taking your order, perhaps within the app itself, we could actually allow the customer to do an order through the app. So they can order their meal through the app and then pay using our ShareRing payment system to pay for their food. So what that does is it facilitates more of a contactless experience while they're in the restaurant, which once again increases the safety even more. So there's a lot of different opportunities about how we could address this, and we are in discussions with a number of companies, shopping centres, some people from the government, different governments, organisations such as the World Economic Forum, and other ones, to basically see how we can make sure that we have the adoption of not necessarily just this technology, but this framework that would help open the borders. The other thing is we need to consider the fact that there's a vaccine coming out soon. So the approach to this would really be, instead of at the start of the process to say, let's have a test and see if you're COVID negative. The process would be maybe some countries are saying, or some airlines are saying, you need to be vaccinated before you travel. So as controversial as that might be for some people, it may be some of the rules that go into place. So I guess part of the sign-up process would say, have you had a vaccination? And if you have, here's the evidence that it has, and now you can travel. And we also spoke to it. We've been approached by a number of companies. One of them is a company that's designed a watch that does temperature tracking. So they basically said, what about integrating this ongoing temperature tracking or into the watch to, into the app to basically show, you know, if they've got an elevated temperature, then, you know, maybe that flashes amber and they need to get tested. So why ShareRing? Why us? Why are we doing this? And I think, you know, one of the obvious answers is in March this year, we were ready to launch our travel app with a number of partners that we had, and everything was ready to launch. And I was actually in Thailand in February, just coming back from organising a lot of the partners, and we had a launch organised and everything. And, you know, obviously COVID-19 meant we had to shut everything down. So we delayed the launch of that app, and we launched our e-commerce platform and shopping and a number of other things since then. But, you know, we're part of the tourism industry with that product. So it's important for us to help open the tourism up again, industry up again. But also because of our partnerships, we've got partnerships with everything from governments to not NGOs to tourism operators to insurance companies. So we're in a unique position to bring all of this together and then use our technology that we've developed to do it in a safe and secure way that also isn't entirely disruptive. We've seen other technologies that have been proposed that are very disruptive in terms of the way of their approach. And they also take the civil liberties and security away from people as well. So yeah, we're looking forward to doing this. We expect that this will be an open platform that other people can integrate with, or we will integrate with other platforms as well to push this through. So yeah, certainly something that's experienced for us. In terms of the benefits of doing something like this, we've done a really strong market analysis and a view of the returns on this. So obviously for retail, spending returns, greater safety, better interaction with customers. Government, it's quite obviously increased GDP, better brand building for the nation as well. And then also for the people is better civic safety and policy enforcement as well. For airlines, trust in their brand, they can commercialise on the hotels and transport, keep travellers and employees safe. Insurers, obviously, and then obviously tourism gives them freedom of movement and happy memories. So we did have had some great coverage on this product and our approach to it. Forbes did an article on us a couple of weeks ago, and we have been approached by a huge number of companies that want to be involved in this. So I guess part of this is really a shout out if you want to be involved with what we're doing and help push it forward and help look for adoption, or if you have other ideas about how the technology can be used or other ways that you can integrate with, we're all ears. But you know, our view is let's all work together to help open the borders again, make tourism something that we're all looking forward to and can start planning for again instead of the uncertainties of it. So yeah, thanks very much. So you can find out more through either our website, you can email us directly on our email address that's on the screen now, or join our discussions that we're having on Twitter. We've got a very large community of people and followers that are very involved and very happy to sort of have discussions around this or any of the other technology and solutions we're working on. So thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Mr. Tim Boss, co-founder and chairman of ShareRing. Thanks for joining. เอาละค่ะก็เป็นอีกหนึ่งหัวข้อที่น่าสนใจนะคะก็คงจะทำให้เราได้เห็นถึงความสำคัญของ ShareRing ซึ่งก็จะเป็นดิจิทัลแพลตฟอร์มที่จะเป็นประโยชน์ต่อภาคการท่องเที่ยวนะคะเพราะสามารถที่จะมีการติดตามสถานการณ์โควิดได้ในหลากหลายรูปแบบด้วยกันนะคะก็สามารถทำให้นักท่องเที่ยวที่มาแล้วก็ใช้แพลตฟอร์มนี้ท่องเที่ยวได้อย่างมั่นใจ ปลอดภัยแล้วก็ไร้กังวลนั่นเองค่ะเอาละค่ะหัวข้อต่อไปนะคะอีกสักครู่เราจะไปฟังจากผู้บริหารของบริษัท Ventum นะคะว่าด้วย power of video personalization how effectively engage customers นะคะเรื่องนี้เป็นอีกเรื่องหนึ่งที่เราไม่ควรพลาดนะคะแต่ช่วงนี้ขอพักสักครู่นะคะเพื่อเตรียมความพร้อมนำสปีกเกอร์ท่านต่อไปให้ทุกท่านนั้นได้รับฟังกันค่ะสักครู่ค่ะ